And we want to welcome everybody who's here with us today. I know we have some friends joining us live on Facebook as well. My name is Sandra Champlain. I'm the host of We Don't Die Radio and Shades of the Afterlife, and I'm the author of the book, We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And this is actually our fifth class for August for our students of Trance and the Altered States with Scott Milligan. And for the past 16 months, this completes our 16th month, sitting every month. So new students always welcome the first of every month, and we start September 6th. But I had the beautiful opportunity in the last 24 hours to have our Sunday gathering, and not only that, to be interviewed this morning. And I was taking a little walk down memory lane of my 25 years looking for evidence of the afterlife, and thankfully I found it, and thankfully I share it. And I know there's a lot of people here that the words have made a difference, have helped people through grief. And one of the things that I think I've taken for granted, and I think it's easy to take for granted, is being human. Something that's extraordinary sometimes becomes regular. It's just how it happens. It's, no big deal. I am not shouting from the rooftops, look at all this great evidence, this will help. And it's just part of being human. But what I want to share with you is just how special you guys are and how honored we are to have you in our family, and that we never overlook that you guys have caught the flame and you're keeping it going. And the two people that I'm thinking about in the last 24 hours had both come in by listening to my radio show, and it's made a tremendous difference in their life, not only helping them through grief, but giving them their life back and now giving. So we are all about service, and we never know how our words make a difference. We never, ever, ever know. Now, not everybody's going to be a physical or trance medium or an author or have a podcast, but who you are and the journey that you've walked, even in the toughest times, you are very important, because you never know who's going to come into your path, and you, as a friend or just a stranger, can make the difference. So often we see only the good stuff that people post on the internet, on social media, but behind that could be a lot of pain and suffering. So we certainly like to share. We welcome everyone to our family, and for our students that are part of our class, just really a big thank you. I know the spirit world is working with you. I know there's so much more that we can experience in our life on this journey of discovery, but you guys are really strong flames, and we're proud of you for making a difference. So that's it for me, and I'd like to turn it over to Scott.
Hello, and thank you, all of you, for being a part of my life in some way, be it in our community or in our extended Facebook family, and how touching for me to have people who are excited as I am where we come to development. Development to me is a life journey, and life is endless. We will never end. We will always continue. I don't know if you have been touched over the past few days to see the atrocities that are happening around the world, of seeing the worst in humanity as well as seeing the best in humanity. And even though I don't hold any titles, I still class myself as a spiritualist, because we are here to support all life, no matter how they look, no matter how they speak or how they act. We are there as a spiritual individual who is trying their best to bring everyone a sense of happiness. And then seeing how people have been affected by the hurricane that's just hit America, and seeing how people have left their house, left their belongings, and gone for shelter, and to see the mighty winds blow and destruction, and seeing how lives have come to its abrupt end, and how grief now walks with their family. And as a medium that all of us are in some way, no matter how clear or how whisper you may experience the spirit people, is that you are still a healer between the two worlds. You're healing the need of the bereaved as well as healing the need of the spirit. The spirit who have come to say that you will be my voice and you will carry my message and you will help my loved ones stand when death and grief have punched them in the gut and they have fallen to their knees. I cannot speak fully to them, and I need your help, and I need your mind to share those thoughts. And in your hands, ladies and gentlemen, you have the gifts of the Spirit that are to be shared, but also to be cultivated in the right manner. Many people believe that mediumship is an easy path. It is not an easy path, but it should be a natural path, that you and I walk it naturally and allow the unfoldment to take place and allow whatever gifts that have been bestowed upon you to reach their potential whilst we walk here on earth. Behind each of you and to the side of you, you have tremendous people who have survived death, who are there to inspire you, to teach you, to share from you the wisdom that death is but a bend in a road, that the greatest lie that has been whispered and has been written by many religions is that death is the end. It is the end of the physical form, but not this spiritual power that you have within you and the life that is going to live beyond. One day your arms will fall dead to this world to be thrusted round the arms of those who you love, who have gone before you. I look forward to a day to have a conversation with my father, to see my animals again, to know that they will continue the path when now I feel alone, and one day I will rejoin. And the spirit world said through other individuals the same message: in your world, people leave you. In our world, people join you. And when we think of it like that, ladies and gentlemen, that death is merely a kiss until we meet again, until we are able to stand together. I will keep the light on for you. I always joke to people, but it will happen one day that if I go before you, I'll switch the kettle on and I will get the brews in, I'll get the drinks in. And when you arrive, we'll have a toast to say that you survived, didn't you? But how do we get to that point of going from believing to knowing? Do you believe in the spirit world, or do you know? Is it arrogance to say you know, or do you have something in your life that has moved you to that place that you know that you will live on? And you know through your senses, you lend your thoughts that then become a voice. And from that voice, teachings are shared, words are offered that bring comfort to those who are in need in that time. I don't know, before we start our class, could we truly say, have you who are listening, have you fallen and experienced grief? And if you have, you know how painful it is. You know how destructive it can be when others around you don't know what to say. I always think when someone dies, there's an idiot zone around you. I've seen people who I've known and loved cross the street as I walk down the road, so they don't know what to say to me, or they come up and say, nice day for it. Well, no, it's not a nice day. I'm in pain. I've just had to say goodbye. And I'm now wondering why other people are walking, why my loved one walks no more. And through that fog and through that mental torture, a medium can be used to blow that dust away. You'll never heal fully from it, but it opens your mind and lifts your heart enough for you to say, I can take a breath in and know that death is a part of life. And these people who suffer, suffer no more. And they now walk freely, but just a step in front of me. So each of you who are joining me now, who may be inspired to look at communication, where does one begin? Where does one truly start the development when the development has already began? When you look at wild seeds, I always get excited, you know, when you plant something, when you don't know what is going to grow, you plant it and you just cast it in the wind and say, wherever you land, let you be happy. And then through patience, through loving guidance, if you will, with a splash of water, a bit of food, the seeds start to sprout, and then the secret is revealed. But then the excitement of the bud starting to form, what colors will the petals be? What fragrance will be released? And then all of a sudden it bursts into life. Could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, what gifts are bestowed upon you? Will you be a fine medium? Will you be the voice of eternity? Will you be someone who is used to manifest the so-called dead, and temporarily they become solid so that others can gaze upon it and hear the voices of someone who's familiar? And then you realize yourself that they're not in the ground. They've not been consumed by fire. That was a shell, like the husk, that has now transformed into something else. It's easy for us to use the analogy of a butterfly that becomes something greater once it is given back to the earth and discard the chrysalis, how things transform. But life is about transforming, and so's your gifts. Your gifts will change as you sit in your power, as you sit in mindfulness. And that is where the development takes flight. Now, we were speaking just before we started class about the importance of home circle. And once again, my mind has moved towards that thought of how people will lend their power to you. Now, I refer to it as power. Well, I should refer to it as love. But some people may find it uneasy to give love when they could just lend their time, no matter what title we give it. But when a group of strangers come together, motivated by a thought, magic can truly happen. Can I make you a medium? No, I can't. You've already walked that path, or start to begin to climb the steps to that altar of peace. My duty is to try my best to encourage you to take those steps forward. And if we were in the same room, you and I could then give you my power. I could lend you the years of sitting that is rubbed within the auric field. You would feast upon it, and hopefully it will be nourishment for your soul, so that your soul can expand and the gifts can be revealed. So many times people say, Scott, you're a physical medium. I feel I'm much more than that. I am merely a seeker of the truth. I am merely a bereavement counselor. I'm not defined by something, because that is merely just an aspect when something is much greater. You guys and girls who are here, you are voices. You were born with a voice to be heard, a hand to be held, a face to be seen. And you, when you sit, that the spirit world are able to draw close, and with the ignitement of the power within you, they stand and feel the warmth of your love. And through the warmth of your love, they are able to reveal to you the wisdom, the thoughts, the teachings that are shared to you all. And my job is to encourage you to go forward and to investigate everything. Now, the strengths I carry at the moment are the altered states and physical mediumship. This is a topic that I will never tire of. I'm always thirsty for more, and it never seems to quench my thirst. And altered states, for those who are joining for the first time, or those who are repeat offenders and want to come back, and maybe I share with you now something that I didn't really touch before, but it's merely moving your mind from everyday thoughts into the daydream, into that mind where it is possible to imagine. Would you dare to imagine? And allow the thoughts of eternity to weave within that imagination a thought or two. Those who are here now, have you sat still and just whispered in your mind, are you there? And if so, can you feel my love? And when you release those thoughts, those simple ideas, then eternity responds. You start to feel the tingling around you. You may be sensitive to the atmosphere starting to shift and change. That is them. And how simple was it by just saying, are you there? And if so, let me feel you. And can you feel my love? Are you there? And they respond. And now they are aware that you are becoming more present in now and being aware of their thoughts and of their mind. And now the kiss has started and the journey begins. So simply releasing in the silence of where you are now. And as the spirit world starts to get hold, as they start to bang upon that drum of awareness, that you will fall into the beat and move with the stream of their mind. Many of you know my past, and from the shadow of my past, I now stand in the presence. And I hope I share with you an opportunity that if a group of strangers that can come together and create a power, that the so-called dead are able to step within and become solid as you and I, the voice that is whispered to shout, to scream and say, I am not dead. I am more alive now. What else can someone do if they can bring back the so-called dead, if they get their power correct? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I can give you 2 seeds. If you plant a seed with love and kindness, where you attend to the need of that seed, or you can plant a seed and then leave it there and say, I'm not going to give you anything, you have to fend for yourself, I'm not going to pay you any time. Which one will grow better? The one that is seasoned in love, or the one that is just let go? If both of them are cut from the same flower, they both have the same potential. So from love and dedication and listening to the need, great things will grow. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we are to make a promise, let's make the promise now, that if you wish to unfold the gifts, make the promise between you and the unseen, that I will meet you in this place of love. And whilst I sit within the place of love, be within the company of all. And if there is anything that you need from me, take, as I'm here to give, not to receive, but to give. And the spirit world will take from you what is needed for them to be strong, to then hold your mind and share that wisdom with you. If you're lucky to then have a group of people that come together, you open in circle with reverence, where each person gives to the circle, not take, and the voice becomes strong. But you have to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, for years to become your friends. That it isn't going to happen overnight. It will happen over a lifetime. For what you plant today may grow tomorrow. It may not be for your hands to hold, your eyes to see, but you may lay the foundations that the circle is then gifted to another when your time is done. And others will see the efforts that you have made, and they carry the light that was given to you. We are a lineage, you and I, ladies and gentlemen. We are people who were blessed with an opportunity, and a tender flame is handed to you, And you've got to keep this flame burning until your journey is ended, and then you hand it to another. But as the flame passes from one to another, more join and keep that flame strong. The reason I am sharing these thoughts with you, my little lovers, is because it is important for us to realize that mediumship is merely the signpost for greater things to come. If you and I are convinced that life is eternal, what else is there for us? It's the philosophy. It is knowing what is happening to everything. The philosophy is nourishment for the soul, so the soul can continue to expand. But through the expansion comes the other gifts that you can then share to other people. I love when you're able to walk into an old, dusty room or a hall that smells a bit damp, and then to have the organ that isn't playing correctly because it's so old and battered, and to see someone stand and upon a simple platform, their voice carries and it touches us deeply. And you can feel the atmosphere changing, and you can feel the presence of the spirit drawing close. And after their prayer, the philosophy is shared. That's the growth. And now we have the reward of hearing the voices of eternity. That's what I love, and that's what I miss. Corona, this virus that has bitten all of us, has given all of us the opportunity to think differently. From this virus, you and I are now talking. Well, I'm talking. Unfortunately, I can't hear you back. Maybe I like the sound of my own words or my own voice, but I'm here to share them with you. But now mediumship has changed, teachings have altered, and you are being left more on your own. When spiritualism was born, you and I, think how different it must have been to those great pioneers. Who did they turn to? Who were the ones that first heard the voices? Who could they turn to and say, teacher, help me? I'm hearing a voice. They had to listen to the voice, listen to the instructions, and literally obey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, maybe I should say something which is a bit like a hot potato. You don't want to hold it for too long. Maybe we've become too lazy. I know I have. And I've gone to people here on earth. How do I learn? What do I do? Instead of going back to the spirit and saying, you have given me the thoughts. How should I develop? How should I unfold the gifts that you wish for me to carry? But did the gift come from the spirit, or did it come from my soul? If it's from my soul, the answers are within. If they're from the eternal mind, they're out. So maybe we should start, ladies and gentlemen, by going within first and finding out where the soul resides. And then once we feel that spark, then move outwards. If I was able to have all of you and squeeze your little cheeks and rub your noses like I was when I was a kid, didn't you used to love that? You on a cold day, someone coming up, pinch your cheek and pinch your nose. Didn't you just love that? It was so painful. But if I could do that to you, I would have you all just sit for 1 year, without distractions, without desires, and just be one with self. And when you are one with self and you get to know all about you, then we go to other people and get to know all about them. So I ask you now, those who are joining me for the first time or repeat offenders, how often do you sit? Truly sit? Do you sit every day for the power? Do you sit and allow the thoughts of eternity to have that moment there, to listen to the voice that is always being quieter than the voice of your own mind? How often do you sit and say to the spirit world that I am here for you, take what is needed? How often do you pray, but pray from self to the power, to who you are, and offer your thoughts to the spirit world, not for protection, not for this or that, but pray and say, find the strength to climb to the altar of peace. And then as the prayer is released, do you then listen to the atmosphere around you without any thoughts that come and go? That tell you have to do the dishes, you have to call this person. I wonder if I need to go on eBay or Amazon, of the modern day distractions. Now, if you're watching this in the future, I wonder what eBay and Amazon has turned into. Or have they grown out of fashion and something else has changed? But today in this modern world, that eBay seems to be my friend or my curse. I really think I need another pillow in my life or another ornament. And then you open up the cupboards and there's no room in there. When really we should clear the clutter of distractions, you and I, and sit and be in the presence of now. As I'm speaking to you now, am I speaking from experience or am I speaking from my soul, dusted with my mind and dusting with the thoughts of eternity? I wonder if we truly think of that. People who are seeing me, who know me, and know the rude and crude and jokey Scott, doesn't seem to be here no more. Something has changed. And this changes within each of you. For you, as you step into your power, the imperfections fade away, the dust of the life, the dust of the troubles seem to fade, and you become free. Now, I hope I don't offend anyone by saying the mechanics of mediumship should kind of be destroyed at this moment. Don't become mechanical, but allow yourself to be free. Free from the distractions of trying to make it perfect. I remember someone saying to me one time, to get a telephone number or an address from the spirit world, you have to look up to the left and then allow your mind to go across the alphabet. And when a letter sticks out, that's the first letter. Well, I'm dyslexic and I don't know my alphabet. So having this moment of going boom, 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 surely wouldn't it be easier for the spirit world to whisper the address to you? Now, if you said to me, Scott, where did your nan live? I wouldn't be able to tell you the number. I wouldn't be able to tell you the street name. But if you told me that I used to sit in her flat and look at the fake fire and see the glass little stones inside, and I used to play with them, and my nan used to say, be careful, you'll get burnt, even though it was just the light. That memory will bring my nan back to life to me, of how she used to sit there while I watched Jaws 2, which was one of my favorite films, and she used to stroke my hair when I was feeling nervous. Or Poltergeist, again, can you see a theme where I'm going? That she'll say, you're watching this again. I said, I love it. I love it. And she would sit there and play with my hair. That's more evidence to me than an address. But if the spirit world are able to do it, then so be it. But what is true evidence? Something you've got to go away and find. Well, really, a medium gives out information. It's only when you say, yes, I understand, that becomes evidence. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's rip up the rule book. Let's just take it back to the bare bones and just sit and be one with the spirit world. So If you are joining me for the first time or you are a repeat, you know that I like to get people to sit and sit in power. And sitting in power is merely you sitting and just melting away. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is just my thoughts upon power, and other people may want to season it with other ideas, but I'm very simple in my thoughts. The spirit world is here around me. I can just close my eyes or don't think of anything and I become aware. I didn't have to do mental aerobics. I didn't have to do here, there, or everywhere. But I had to put in the work beforehand for all the years of sitting, losing self. So in a moment, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to sit with my thoughts. My thoughts are going to merely just move you. Now, if you feel you fall asleep, then fall asleep. If you feel that you fade out of it, then we are there. Now, sitting in power for me is going through many layers of awareness beyond the mediumistic mind. It is becoming one with all life, with all consciousness. And if you wish, just come on a journey with me. Now, Sandra, did I just put you on the spot or have we got music?
I've got it.
You are good. You
We're
are
a
good.
team.
I love it. So I'm going to have another sip.
All right. And for our folks in class, I'm going to press the play button. If you can hear it at a good volume, just press or give me a thumbs up.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We got thumbs up. Over to you.
Okay, I have to turn it down because it becomes distracting for me. So I'm going to ask you, if you feel comfortable, to just close your eyes. Just trust in Auntie, just for a moment. But as you close your eyes to this world, I'll ask you just to become aware of every sound around you. What can you hear besides my voice and the sound of the music? Do you hear the sound of everyday life? Do you hear the wind outside? Of a drop of rain that falls? Do you hear the tick of a clock? Of a voice of someone who you love? Do you hear the footsteps of strangers outside? Do you hear the bark of a dog that is a pet to someone else? Just listen for a moment to all sounds that come and go. As you become aware of each sound that swims alongside my voice. I want you just to recognize and then allow it to fade away. For each time you hear a sound, it won't disturb you. It will merely fade and move you deeper into peace. As the rise and fall of your breath brings you a sense of peace, as you breathe in the presence, you breathe out the past. Of the rise and fall. As the breath of life is given and shared, a silent prayer is released to the unseen, that you are here and you share your love. And as those thoughts are given, as certain as the drop of rain that falls, a wave of peace slowly moves, a sense of peace that allows your body to relax. For every muscle that has carried the stress and strain of the day begins to fade and rest. As we remove ourselves softly from the hands of time, we start to find peace. Like the sun that rises to share its warmth, brings reassurance that the day ahead will be calm. For as your mind begins to surrender and bows to the will of eternity, you find the rest and peace that has always been there. Like a wave of love that washes over the rocks and stones of life, you find peace. That throughout your life you have walked the path, the journey that has led you to the altar of peace. as the rise and fall once again of the breath brings calm and love. And you fade further, like the stars that melt and go to rest of the rising of the sun. As you sink further, like the leaves that fall, when their journeys end. What else do you hear? What else do you feel? When the curtain of love is drawn, and you find your rest, you find your peace. For as these words are offered, you move and you find your rest, only for a moment. as we raise a cup of milk of human kindness. We take into our being a sense of peace. For the unseen, we knock upon that door. As the warmth of our soul expands and our mind begins to settle, that the gifts of your soul have been touched by the love. And from the time that has passed, short it may have been, a gentle step upon the path that moves us closer to a sense of knowing. As the rise and the fall of your breath begins to deepen, and your thoughts become stronger, what else can you hear? What else do you feel as these words come to find you? And how each breath fills your being as you start to become aware of the sounds of your room. Breath by breath, moment by moment. And softly and gently, if you can, start to move your fingers, move your toes, and if you wish, you can open your eyes or just stay in a peaceful state a moment more. Normally, I would like us to run a little longer, or should I say walk a bit further, as we should never run into our development. But ordinarily, we will find that as we start to sip that cup of peace, that our minds can only be held for a period of time, and slowly we should exercise and get more confident in letting go. I know I have terrible times sometimes when my mind is too busy or my body doesn't feel right to walk away from it. But I know when it comes to work with the spirit world, that merely releasing the thought to my friend that may be invisible to you but real to me, their mind starts to induce a sense of peace, and I feed off of that because it brings me a sense of knowing, and then the eternal kiss is made and the trance states take hold. But you will sit in for power, and the more you sit in that peaceful state, the stronger you become. Well, in my mind, you become stronger. The colors of the auric field become deeper. And therefore, we know when we look upon someone how the development is unfolding by the texture of your color and to the depth of your color, and how the mind may have interacted with the eternal mind. And therefore, the work truly begins. And as you sit in that state and knock upon the invisible door, I wonder who else will come and join you. I wonder, as you were sitting, blending in your piece, were you starting to become aware of random thought? Were you becoming aware of pictures that you gave no motivation to, but all of a sudden seemed to be very dominant? Did any of you see faces as you were blending, or colors as you were walking towards that piece? But once you were there, you were aware of nothing. You were just aware of a drop of rain that has fallen in the lake and in the ocean of peace. Now, I wonder what the spirit world will do with this power that you just sat for and offered, and how the spirit world will respond to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I must be honest with you that not all of you will be working mediums, and some of you may not be trance speakers, but you will be good sitters to support the mission. The mission is to bring peace. I am so excited seeing organizations popping up with ideas of sitting for healing, sitting for development, sitting for a sense of knowing, and having discussion circles about philosophy, about ideas. Wouldn't you love to have a medium like Maurice Barbanel, who was able to be entranced by Big Jump, who became Silver Birch? And having Silver Birch's wisdom, that we could ask him, what is the purpose of what we are facing today? Will there be peace in the Middle East? Will there be a time where Corona has run its course and mankind have emerged from hibernation? Or is this a new life that each of us may have to live through until our children's children have been and gone? I remember my friend from the unseen saying to me that Corona has left its mark upon history. Every country has known about it or is becoming aware of it. I wonder what you have changed in your life since the pandemic hit. Have you spent more time in your house getting to know your neighbors? Has your work changed? Are you not traveling into the hustle and bustle of cities or airports, and you're now doing it virtually? Companies are changing, and so is mediumship. But we should always remember the path we have walked and never forget the past, because spiritualism back then wasn't accepted as it is today. So these wonderful pioneers stood when many people believed that it was a sin. I love it when the spirit world say, when we hear, you know, you don't disturb the dead started it first. They disturbed us. Look at it. The spirit world came in an hour of need. The materializations of the unseen, to the raps and taps, which then became communication. Could you imagine back in the day when a simple tap and rap has now become a recognized religion across the world? People are more accepting today. And each time you sit, let us honor the past. There were greats in the past and there were terribles. But was the enthusiasm still there? I want to sit, I want to serve, I want to be. I wonder organizations that carry our voice, if they have changed. Or have they become stronger and united? and said, together we are stronger. So how can I develop you from now? Sitting in your power, of course, but asking you to investigate and look at the many voices of the past. But circle, which has no beginning or end, will be the backbone. It will be the rock of your foundation. And if that means us starting working in this capacity, but as long as the circle responds to the need of the spirit world. So let me offer you a prayer. And some of you may quench and wriggle at that thought of prayer. But a prayer to me isn't to a false God. It is a prayer from my soul and my words dipped in the oil of my love to the spirit world. And you and I have to change this atmosphere around us, this energy that is around us. And we've got to make it more strong and more spiritual. And a prayer can offer that. So when you sit for your power, offer a prayer. Now, if some of you have said, Scott, you've walked this path so many times with me, and I will walk it again and again and again until it ingrains within your being that your prayer must come from self. Now, some of you know the answer to this, but I'll ask you again. Where does your soul reside? Where does your soul live? Where does your power come from? For me, I feel it within my gut. To you, you may feel it within your heart. Wherever your soul lives is where your power resides, and that is where we pray from. So if you would join me for a minute in your own way of either staring into the screen and saying, Scott, you're boring me, or you can bow your head or close your eyes, however you wish. I don't mind. We're still friends, you and I. And step into the power, into that love, into that presence there of now. And offer these simple words. Dearest divine and infinite spirit, to all those who whisper in a world we call unseen, we come to bow and to rise in your love. That as we steady our way to the altar of peace, give us the strength so that we can serve for the highest source. To the highest love that is offered, we have come to serve you well. For the needs that you have, let us unburden you, as your thoughts have brought comfort to many. If you wish for us to be your voice, teach us your ways, so that you and I and all can become one. That on the shores in which we stand, there are fears about death. Let us carry the message to bring peace to those minds. But whatever you need from us, take, so that we can serve you well. Let us be the voice. Let us be the healing hands and the voice of comfort to all those who are in need. Welcome, friends. Those simple words can be adaptable for you to bless the atmosphere. As long as it is heartfelt, you can talk about chicken soup, but as long as you are mindful to those who are mindful about you, that within your space right now, there's an army of souls who you may not know of, that are sitting, watching, hoping, praying that you are becoming aware of them. You can do this. So when we talk about trance, you and I, where do we put ourselves? What part of here do we give over? Or do we just surrender to that thought? I was terribly confused, you know, when I started, thinking, where do I have to place myself? Do I place myself within my breath? Of taking 2 breaths in and holding for 2 breaths and then out for 2 breaths and so on and so forth. That if I am breathing in that way, I'm thinking, and the more I think, the more I'm pushing the spirit world away. Do I have to go through the colors of the auric field by going through each chakra and bless them? And that should take me into trance. I get so far and I'll forget. My mind will move here and there. I used to create a room that was decorated with all finery. And I would go round in my mind and clean that room whilst I was sitting, and nothing would manifest because I was too much here, thinking it has to go in here. But my soul doesn't live in there. It lives here. It lives through me. It is the etheric body that I have to become active, the spiritual body that had to become active. By doing prayer and sitting in that power, that activates that power. The body starts to become aware. So when I sit, I'm not putting my mind in a box, but I'm putting my focus and intent in a direction that stops my mind being a bouncing ball or a drunk friend wanting to talk to everyone. I'm becoming still. That is why when we sit, ladies and gentlemen, you may start to have sensations, a coldness creeping from the floor upwards through your legs. You may feel the presence of someone there and your mind starting to expand. You're not putting your mind in a box. You're not putting it somewhere here, there, and everywhere. You're slowing your mind down so that the spirit world can overlap. And through that experience, the spirit world will hold you, and then they have to settle you down. You will make mistakes, and it's about understanding you're going to make mistakes, accepting you're going to make mistakes. It's never going to be perfect, but you can do your best to sweep that path clear so that the other world can try and make it perfect. So where trance is concerned, many people get caught up and overthink and saying, I've got to go here, there, and no. Stand still. Normally when you're still, you've got enough breath in your being, your muscles are relaxed, so that you are able to do the duty. Running here, there, and everywhere in your mind will simply just exhaust you and will be no good to anyone. So closing your eyes and asking yourself where you feel love, and just be mindful of that, of feeling love cultivate. That is one place you can place your being. For me, I focus on simply closing my eyes and moving into my prayer. My prayer moves me, but it may not move you. Some people can use the primary colors of having each color move towards them, and that will help focus. But you should never try and manufacture a box within your mind, because that means that you are overthinking when you should be trying to be a pane of glass. That is what trance is. You're a pane of glass. Pane of glass allows the light to shine through it, but it blocks out the wind and distractions, but it allows the light through it. And you have to work very, very hard or very, very easy just to get you out of it. And what I mean by you out of it is ego, fear, doubts, wants, desires. These are the thorns that poison. It's great being eager. Eager is very refreshing, especially when you see someone go, ooh, and having that experience for the first time. But your eagerness can make you trip. And I've tripped many times. So to practice, ladies and gentlemen, You can do this by yourself, because the spirit world's an intelligence. They're not going to do something that's going to hurt you. And neither will they come through and speak to no one. But what you can do is go on that journey by closing your eyes after your prayer. So everything moves into one another. Everything kind of moves in. So you close your eyes to pray, to bless the power, move into your power. And as you feel the vibration changes, then you can go into your little sacred space. And that is going where your soul feels it needs to be. Releasing that thought to the spirit world, here I am, draw close to me at that moment. You can feel your friend there. They know what to do. They know what needs to be done. And they will bless and hold you through the experience. But it's how your mind reacts to it is key. Does your mind fire questions? Have you ever got irritated? You're probably irritated now, but have you ever been irritated by someone that comes up to you and asks you a question, and before you've even answered the question, they ask you another question? And as you try to draw breath, and they ask you again and again and again and again, and you're like, will you shut up and let me answer? And that is how I imagine the spirit world must feel, that we get so excited. We're like an excitable puppy that bounces up and down, going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I love you, I love you, I love you. But then it's about allowing the spirit world to say, right, okay, now just calm yourself down. Calm yourself down. Let's work. Let's do this. I remember a spirit friend saying to me, when I said to them, how did they die? And they said, I won't tell you how I died, but I'll tell you how I lived. And having that thought, not focusing on the death, but focusing on the whole entire of their life. Could you imagine right now, as I bore you further, what must it be like when you're in a room with all your friends and you're shouting at the top of your voice and no one can hear you? How must it feel when people are saying, I miss them, and you're standing in front of them going like this, why can't you see me? How frustrating must it be? And then you've got a person who is arrogant, who is full of ego, full of everything that you despise, and says, I can give you a voice, but you must obey me. Tell me how you died. Well, it's a painful reminder to my loved one. Did you suffer? Of course I suffered, but I suffer no more. What's your name? Well, they should know who I am. They need to hear my words, not hear this identification that comes with it. Get to know your communicator by listening to them. You will have structure, of course, and that will come into it. And some people will be bolshy, some will be intimidated, timid, not intimidated, but timid, and will need to warm up to you. And it's the same with the trance states. You'll have a very strong presence there that can be overbearing, or you can have a light and dusty one where you just feel like you're around your nan, and your nan saying, come on, let's remember how I used to stroke your hair. And you fall into love with that feeling. And as you're listening to nan and feeling nan, the other world is sneaky and they draw close someone new. Don't worry, Scott's mind's distracted. And you're having to relax into that thought. Have you ever thought of it that way? Have you ever watched a medium work? And as they give out communication, they say, oh, I've got your Uncle Jim here, and start giving messages from Uncle Jim. But you don't want to hear from Uncle Jim. You want to hear from Pat. Pat is the one you're missing. But Uncle Jim has to set the scene first. He's the hostess with the mostess. He's setting the party. And the medium is just simply relaxing into the thoughts of Jim. And Uncle Jim goes, this is their Auntie Jean. Come on, Auntie Jean. And Auntie Jean goes, oh, am I too late? I'm sorry, I wasn't used to this. And Auntie Jean starts to give out the information, and your sitter is getting a little bit more worked up, thinking, I've only got 10 minutes left. Is the one I love, Pat, going to come? And then all of a sudden, Auntie Jean goes, I have someone here now who's warmed up to you. Her name is Pat, and this is the one they want to hear from. Have you seen a medium work so extraordinary, how they move from one communicator to another? And it should be the same in the trance states. Ask yourself this question, my little flowers, and I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm an old-fashioned girl when I start talking, but I want to really reiterate. It disturbs me when I see online people close their eyes and they start talking in trance straight away. Where's the blending? Where's the attunement? And equally, within 20 or 30 seconds, they're out of it. It doesn't move like that. Yes, it's like moving through one room and entering another, but there must be attunement there. You can feel it. At any time, if anyone works, ladies and gentlemen, if you feel this kind of, oh, I'm not sure, then you're not sure. Or if you are listening to a speaker that's coming from the unseen and it's really whetting your appetite, then it's coming from that great mind of the spirit, not from this mind. This mind is boring. This mind is controlling. This mind is fearful. This mind is a bully. Be free in that. So what I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you are blending in the trance states, you may feel like a racehorse that you want to gallop ahead. Take your time. So as you blend with your power now, so you move within your prayer to bless the atmosphere, you move within the power, and now you're moving to talk to your communicator saying, I'm yours. Don't ask them questions or get to know them. They'll share what they need to share as they come along. They'll have a conversation. And as you are listening or blending or relaxing, the spirit world will step close. They step into the auric field around you. And it's how your mind copes with that. And that's why allow time to be your friend and you relax into that state of mind. And as you're sitting there, your heart may respond with the flutters. Your throat may feel like it's being restricted. And everything is showing you that it's taking place. But this will question. Silence this as in human nature. And just allow the spirit world to get to know you. And then the rest will follow. I'm most alarmed when someone comes to me and say, if I take your course, will I be speaking at the end of it? No, that is not the purpose of the course. The purpose of the course is to give you the hammer and the chisel for you to go away and carve and create and make what is needed through inspiration. But you've got to have the strength to hold that hammer. You've got to have that determination to swing that blow. And that will come over time. Swing too hard, you'll break it. Swing too soft, you won't mark it. Just take your time. I am alarmed, and maybe I am being silly. I am alarmed of how this movement is changing. And maybe I'm the stick in the mud. And maybe I'm the relic what needs to be knocked off the shelf and smashed. And one day I will fall like Humpty Dumpty and no one will be able to put me back together and I'll be gone. But what I hope is that we will never forget the majesty of sitting to blend. And you can do that by yourself, or you can do that with a group of friends. However you walk the path is up to you. I can't change your path, but I can push you to the point of making you saying, oh, for God's sake, I'm going to walk it. Then walk it and enjoy it. Eusebio Palladino, say that name when you're drunk. Eusebio Palladino was a remarkable medium, very tiny, very small, half my height, but would overshadow me in a heartbeat. That her mediumistic power and her psychic power had no boundaries, but she was investigated fiercely. But she said, restrain me or I'll fake it, not intentionally, but as the power passes through me, I will respond. But when she was watched like a hawk and was able to put her hand above the table and say, work, the table would levitate and touch her hand. People would try and pin the table down and still it would lift off the ground with ease. She would say, I believe you need to read this book, and place out her hand, and a book would float from the bookcase and land in her hand. Read it and return it when you're done. 3 months later or so on, if you didn't return it, she would say, bring it back. And it will appear from nothing and land in her hand. And she'll go over to the bookshelf and put it back. She was remarkable. But she was needed to be remarkable to convince people of that time that mediumship was unique. Would you be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, to be a lady, let's look at this that way, of Florence Cook with the materialization of Katie King? Would you be prepared to walk into a room where there's a group of strangers, which were all men, who would ask you to undress? And you would undress in front of them, they'll inspect you, and then they would redress you and lay you on the floor and brush your hair outwards, and then get a hammer and nail and hammer your hair into the floorboards and stand on your wrists while you would work? Would you be able to move your mind after that has happened? But yes, she was able to move her mind, and Katie King would materialize and walk around the room with Sir William Crookes to prove evidence to a parapsychologist, an investigator, that life does continue. To have different heartbeats of the materializations being noted by doctors. Would you yourself be prepared to be Helen Duncan, that will stand once again with strangers who will take off your clothes, inspect every part of your body, and then redressed, and then be put in most extraordinary ways to convince the masses? Carmine Marabelli, again being stripped off naked, being checked, redressed, but as they were redressing him, he would go into the trance states and a materialization would form and say, are you ready yet? Can we continue? Have Franek Kluski being investigated by members far beyond his peers, and having the lion Hilkoi materialize and lick the arms of the sitters? To have a caveman, because I can't pronounce Mathandaful, but a caveman, so to speak, big jaw, big lips, slapping and kissing and making his cluck cluck noises to communicate, would grab the tail of the lion and pull him, and the lion would turn around and roar, and he would go underneath the table, grabbing the apple and eating while the sounds would continue. How far are you prepared to convince others by going through these extraordinary ways? Because that is part of development. But may I say this to you? If people are not willing or inwardly ready to accept our truth, don't push it. People of the past as well as the present have gone through the mill to trying to convince. We should never try and convince. We should set the scene so that the spirit world are able to convince. So you and I should accept now that we are merely the channel of this great power. Ladies and gentlemen, your duty is to be the voice. You're the translator. If you watch a translator will merely say what they're being told, share what they have been given. And part of today's class is convincing to you that you are a voice to be heard, a voice to be shared. With trance states, you cannot speed this up. If it's mental mediumship, we can give you ideas and give you challenges to work with, but you've got to get your power right. Sit as often as you can and allow the manifestation of your gifts. And what talents will you release to this world? My, only time will tell. If you're going to write a book, write it well, but ask the spirit world, what would you like to be shared within these pages? What will the person need to receive as they glance upon the words upon this page? If you're going to tell a story, tell it truthful and tell it well, because others will carry that story when your voice is more silent. So for you and I don't know if this is what you wanted, but this is what I have to offer. A time where you can sit and be still. And whilst we've been talking, the spirit world's sneaky, or are they more intelligent than we think? That the spirit world have been given healing, not only to the people here, but also the people who are in need, under the circumstances of Afghanistan, of a hurricane, or anything else that has happened within the world. The spirit world have asked just for a moment of your time. And whilst we sat and marinated our thoughts within that power, the spirit world have done work. So you are, I suppose, spirit within this world. You have shown your spirituality because you have sat and listened to the ramblings of a silly fool, by the spirit world being able to work with you. How long will my voice carry? I have no idea. But I know that one day, be it on this side of life or on their side of life, I don't know why I point behind me, because they're not behind me, they're all around about me. We will meet, you and I. And you can turn around and say, Scott, you're a fool, and I'll love you for it. Or Scott, do you know what? I sat for the spirit world and I fell in love with the idea that the dead are not dead, they're more alive than you and I. I had this lovely experience before I release you of a little girl that passed away in a fire, and she materialized in Colin's seance, and she came over and she was just talking, she was kicking the floor, and she said that she was a bit miffed because when she died, she thought she would see Father Christmas. And she said, I haven't seen Father Christmas. And I said to her, well, you won't see Father Christmas at the moment because he's still alive. He's still doing his work. He's still delivering parcels. And she said, well, can I be one of his elves? I said, you can be whatever you wish you want to be. And then she told us about the story about how she passed, and we did the R's when we needed to do R's, and we were sympathetic, and we played with our hands when she came over to play with our hands. And she wanted to write a letter. So always in the corner, we would have a piece of paper and a pencil if needed. And she wrote her letter to her mum. And she said, Mummy lives at this address. And we said, what's your mummy's name? She said, Mummy, of course. And so we were like, okay, to Mummy. And we had to write it with a covering note. And we did what the child asked for this letter to be sent. Not too long afterwards, because we didn't have email fully then, we got a letter back saying that this lady can confirm that her child did pass, and she was invited to come and join a seance. And in that moment, the child come back, and you heard mummy, 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 as she ran across the floor. To hear the mother sob, but then to hear her laugh again, was one of these moments that will never leave me. And I had that experience that really touched my soul. And that's why I'm very violent in my thoughts of getting it right. Your gifts are limitless. Don't limit it by your insecurities, and don't limit it because other people say you can't. Go and investigate it. But if you are true and you speak truthfully about the unseen, you have a mighty force behind you, and that force will see it through. I have many other stories about children who used to play silly string, so you would get covered in silly string, you get pictures drawn for you, they'll pick up pencils and pens and draw on your face, and it was marvelous. It was wonderful to hear the voices of the children, to hear voices of the husbands and the wives, the nans, the granddads, the brothers and sisters. And it all came from sitting in the power that you just sat. Get it right, and the sky's the limit. So, Sandra, have I bored them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Good. What I'd like to do is our friends that are in our class, if you would just stay where you are, our friends that are not in our Zoom room right now, we're going to say, see you soon to you. You're all welcome to join Scott and I on Mondays and Fridays. Mondays, we have our class, starts next week, September 6th. New students are always welcome to come in. And then on Fridays, we sit for healing, followed by a demonstration of trance mediumship with Scott. So we're going to say goodbye to our friends not in our Zoom room. And we'll see you guys soon, I'm sure.